There you go. Something is smoking right there. That's in Mexico. There you go. The UFO files, it's about the UFO files, there you go. The UFO files fucked them up really good. Ah, I see that Trump is very positive. Ah, there you go. Oh, I am sure that he's got a lot to tell. I think that Americans are yet about to learn a hardcore lesson, hard lesson. I frankly think they don't have anything that could go against China and against the Russia. To be totally honest, the video which I created today is just the video that is just a bad luck for these people. And I see there is already people giving a very strong feedback on this video, coming up with all kinds of conspiracy theories as far as who Donald Trump is, claiming that Donald Trump is a Russian agent, that kind of stuff. They just don't like this stuff. The stuff that I created today is the truth, however. They just don't like it. I know. But it's true. And I believe that after this war, Ukraine no longer will exist. And I do believe so because the Ukrainian people themselves no longer want to have their own Ukraine. Because this is not about a betrayal, this is about the agreement Americans and Russians have made, or I should say, and Germans and French and Italians and everybody else with Russia. So this is actually what I really think, because especially you don't respect people like myself that go through so much and have so much to demonstrate, depict. You, quite frankly, don't even know what the fuck you are fighting for. This is the way it is. What the hell is it for you to fight for some kind of freedom if you are just completely disrespecting your own principles and doing your best to undermine people who were fighting for you like myself? There is nobody like myself, but is this okay? Is this the way? I don't think it is. I think that people, bad you do, bad you get. I think that karma eventually catches up with the bad people. I'm pretty damn sure. I just at the father where I was, I'm worried about him. This is what worries me the most. More than my own health, more than everything. And father is not motivated enough to lift his legs, to do the stuff that matters, even when I am around. He is just very depressed, and it's just, I'm going to show you this picture here. This is Palenso talking about the Trump, that he is a Moscovian agent. Like I said, they come very quickly with response to the stuff that I create. They don't like it even a little bit. It is. The situation is like this, that this is how they hide their identities, and this is how they hide the truth about war in Ukraine. This is how, not the truth about the war on Ukraine, but a New World Order contract that I totally exposed today, as I demonstrated you on this video, which I dedicated practically to Zelensky, to Ukrainian people, to Americans to hypocrisy. It's a fucking hypocrisy. You know, it's a bloody hypocrisy. And like I said, people that betray their own principles, people that betray their own ideals, is just karma catches up with you. That's all there is to it. And nobody will be out there to help you anymore. When you do shit like this, you did to me, there will be nobody. And that's exactly what I want. I want people to arm themselves with the knowledge. I want people to remember this case. I want people to understand what the fuck is going on, because they will repeat the lies, and they repeat the lies, and repeat the lies, and repeat the lies. And they are violent in brainwashing people, and people eventually forget who and what they are. And if they cannot change the people, then what they do is they drug them up and they change them. They use drugs literally to alter the human mind next to the forced unemployment. It's an extremely violent world. You should believe me. You shouldn't believe the people who do these things. Because people who do such things for sure are not telling you the truth. That's for sure not. Yeah, I just am worried about the father. And at the same time, he is not doing this stuff. Even when I'm around, I understand that he wouldn't be doing this stuff when mom is alone or something like that. But when I'm around, yeah, you should be doing these things, because it's just me out there to help you, basically. And just moving your legs, it means to use muscles. It's not a difficult principle to understand. And he is so apathic, he so does not want to, and it's very, very difficult. The whole thing is just very difficult. I don't understand. What the fuck is this? Aha, okay, alright. So this is the whole thing I did here. Yeah. Yeah, it really is good. This really is a good stuff. This surely is art. I couldn't do any better than I did. There's no fucking way I could. If I wanted to, I could not change better than this. Do better than that stuff. If you don't understand this shit here, you will never understand anything. You will disappear. You will go on the fucking map. Then you have to go and you have to listen to this shit here. And he's going to repeat the fucking lies we all know, we all understand now. Fact of the matter is that if you want to do a sale of Ukraine, there's no fucking other way than to get an individual whom you will accuse to be a Moscow agent. And Americans do want to make money. Americans do want to steal oil. They do bad stuff, including to their own people, regardless. They don't give a shit. And the only way to get this stuff done is by electing somebody whose underwear is full of shit, just as I demonstrated you right here, and who will in fact present himself as agent of Moscow. And that was Donald Trump. Because the man that betrays people like this, and this is not about American people, but American allies, the man who would do such a thing, it would eventually have to be proven by American government that he is actually a friend of the enemy. No fucking other way. So Ukraine is going to be sold. This is what the fuck I'm trying to say. They were sold. It's a business. In return, Mideast, oil interests, that kind of stuff, extermination procedure in Gaza for the sake of the greater Israel and that kind of stuff. Garbage. This guy is a Zion-fascist guy. This is a Zion-Nazi colonialist. He categorized himself as ex-communist. You see? That's supposedly would be ex-communist. Good luck with a communist like that. When you're dealing with a communist like this, you're as fucking good as dead. Donald Trump is no fucking agent of Moscow. Donald Trump only solely represents interests of American people. and he does this extremely good. You were able to see his pants are full of shit. He is about to complete the sale. Yes, and America does not have what it takes to destroy Russia with nuclear or whatever kind of arsenal, because they do have answers to this type of threat. They have submarines, they have the ways to counter this kind of threat with weaponry of their own. We all know that. But there is one thing about Russia. Russia would not attack the United States of America, just as the United States of America would not attack Russia with a nuclear arsenal. And what that means is that Americans, Germans, French, Italians, British are not doing the job as they should. NATO should be already inside of Ukraine at least for 2 years. It never got there. Ukrainians also should get the weaponry they need to defeat the enemy, to expel the enemy out of the country. Nobody can nuke you if you blow your enemy out of your own country. Now, things can get very different if you go on the other side of the border and you try to dominate their cities, and in defense, that's what, in a case of the war like the one in Ukraine, is nuclear weaponry, the meaning, the use of. Then those nukes can be used. That they would probably use the nuclear if they feel that you threaten them, that you're going toward Moscow, that you are already taking over Russian cities and stuff like this. Then yeah. Otherwise, Russians are not fucking stupid. They also want to be alive like everybody else. Americans would use, including nuclear arsenal if they had to, not only the military of their own, if they have to defend Germany or Finland or Sweden. You understand? They would not allow Russians to cross to Sweden or Finland or to the Germany, not even 1 centimeter. I'm going to put it this way. If they would, entire NATO, everything would be inside of those countries. That's one thing. And they could not defeat that. If they could not defeat the enemy, then they would not even hesitate to use nuclear arms. This is just one thing. It's different. This is Ukraine. And they don't give a fuck about Ukraine. And the Ukrainians are going to learn how much the truth is worth in a hard way. What I stress them out is in a very nice way. I might have not been too damn polite about it. All through I believe anything that is acceptable is too damn polite anyways. But I sure did take time to explain to these people everything about what goes on. Donald Trump is not a Russian agent. Donald Trump is just American president. Extremely effective American president, doing his deal with the Russians based on agreement, which is traces probably further than even I don't understand one thing here. Probably further than what I described as 1976. Yeah, do you understand that? Probably further than what I described even as in 1976. But that time, it was something new. This insurance business they came up with, on how they would do the insurance, blow those buildings and have tenants and owners correct the insurance for the building. For the buildings. That was the first time I understand this type of scam. Even though I was told they already tried this kind of scams before in other buildings even. So that basically is before I was even born. I was born in 71, in December of 71. So this shit that you refer to as Moscow agents, this goes way back in time. This goes in your time like Valencia. You definitely know exactly what I'm talking about because you participated in Moscow and all this stuff. Between Americans and all that stuff. You know very good the stuff I'm talking about, and you're not going to tell any of that stuff. You're 82 years old. You know bloody good what the fuck I'm talking about. Especially you are very connected to the Russians anyways. So, Donald Trump is not a Russian agent. He is acting like a Russian agent. Based on agreement, United States of America, Germany, France, Italy, Britain, and everybody else. Mainly Britain and the US have with Russia. But he's not an agent. And it's a filthy job that Donald Trump is doing by betraying ally of United States of America, known as Ukraine. And that's why even his pants have to look like this, just as I demonstrated you. And he is accused of being what other than a Moscow agent. When you sell somebody, you have to look like a shit. You have to align yourself to the Nazis. You have to look negative as much as you possibly can for public to depict you. You have to depict yourself to public as gross, as disgusting, because that's what you do. You're selling the ally of the United States of America. That's his job now. He's taking shit upon himself so that Americans can fill their pockets through the oil theft and the Middle Eastern oil theft. Genocide in Gaza. That's what this is. He's not an agent of Moscow. I came to conclusion, this guy. He's just doing his job as an American president. That's how pathetic this shit is. It's not only American weapons that are killing women and children of Gaza, Palestinian people, West Bank, Palestinian West Bank and Palestinian Gaza. No, sir. It's not only the money that you send, your taxpayers' money, to the Israel, so you welfare Israel in genocide of Palestinian people. No, sir. It's the oil you guys need. It's the fucking oil that you need your interests in the area of the Israel itself. You want your own independent state. You want oil. You want the cash on all these wars on 6 countries that you burned to the ground. You want money. You want to capitalize on it. So now, if you appoint Barack Obama, a black guy, or Kamala Harris, or some Bill Clinton guy, or even Joe Biden would not work out, even that he was a tremendous Zionist. He was the one who started this massacre of Gaza and West Bank. It wouldn't look good for the whole country, right? Because the Democrats, the way you depict Democrats, you depict them in a light, like as a fighters for the human rights, as a etc., 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 right? You try to depict them as a decent people, and the Republican Party is like, in a parenthesis, corrupt, right? But the truth is, you cannot handle the truth. The truth is that you people cannot be without one another. You're made for one another. Everything else is BS. It's a bullshit. Including Donald Trump being a Moscow agent. No, man, he was using me to portray himself to the world as a Moscow agent, but in the reality is such that he's doing a filthy job for you Americans. Call it whichever you want. You know how I'm going to call this shit? I'll call this stuff just part number 2. I'm going to add this stuff to this video here. I should have entered this stuff into part number 1, I did not. Who started the World War III and what Zelensky and this and that. Is going to be another political video right here. We're going to use this one. He's not a Moscow agent. He's just doing his job as an American president. There was not a single American president. There was not a treasoner to those who pledge allegiance as a foreign nationals, I should say, as a foreign countries to the United States of America. Those that pledge allegiance to NATO and are from the interest areas of Russia, they're just not fortunate. That's all there is to it. Donald Trump is not the first and he's not the last one. Actually, this is actually such a show of the lunacy that I do have to video record it because it's just so fucking great, man. Seriously, I'm serious. I mean, look at this page. I mean, this belongs to Express UK, and it's a section dedicated to the royals. Now, look at this stuff. Just look at it. I mean, look at this shit. I'm going to be quiet and just look at his pictures. That's all. It's just beautiful. Here's the date and time. I was with the father today, and he's not doing too well, but I'm optimistic, and I hope I'm going to bring him up spiritually, mentally, and so that we can do something. I can no longer lift my father. I realized what a strain that does on my back, that I lifted him today, and I was finished off, basically, completely finished off. And so, but look at, pay attention to these pictures here. So my spine really hurt, but it's gonna be alright. It's just that I wasn't really sure whether this got something to do with some sort of injury, something. But
God, what a mess this is. Check this out.
But the thing is that this is a problem with a disc. This is a problem with that lining that holds the spine, and it can turn into a disaster. It really can turn into a disaster. I did recuperate myself spine a lot, tremendously a lot. I am fine now. I'm okay, but I'm not gonna go and break myself because of somebody that just doesn't want to exercise.
What a fucking mess. I mean, what a mess. What a variety of...
Lifting my father's legs is all I can do. Nothing, absolutely nothing more than that. Lifting him is completely out of question. Totally out of question. Does not come in consideration. Absolutely does not come into consideration.
Amazing Photoshop, not a Photoshop, but a shop of photos, a store of photos by the Prince Andrew. Amazing.
I mean, look at these pictures. I mean, if this isn't fucking crazy. You should be paying to my talk attention to me. You should be just paying attention to this lunacy, man. Yeah, I find this really bizarre. I mean, the pictures that they have demonstrated here are completely insane. Totally crazy stuff. Totally amazing stuff. Show off lunacy. I mean, you can see, and I do have a special hatred for these people because of the stuff they have done to me, and I could feel how this hatred is even stronger when I see them, like, I mean, let me demonstrate you these pictures. This is not a show of total lunacy. I mean, I don't know what it is. I mean,
yeah, I mean, on one picture, they're laughing. On many pictures, on other pictures, it looks like they're begging. Talking about Prince Andrew here, like, it's like, in some picture they look like depressed. On other picture, it looks like they're begging for the mercy. I mean, amazing stuff. I said that I hate them even more. No, it would make me feel like wanting to hate them. I'm sorry, I have to correct that stuff. It would make me feel, if I wouldn't feel completely empty seeing these pictures. But I'm thinking about what a show-off of crap that is. Trust me, these are their pictures. They they posed for those pictures. They made arrangements with photographers and so on. It isn't just randomly taken photos or anything like this. I participated in this stuff and even revealed few of those involving death threats like the one that you see right there, Prince Andrew, with those spikes behind him. That was exactly involved even in a death threats.
Look at that picture with those spikes right behind him.
He interpreted the spikes behind him as a death threat. Yeah, the picture that you see right there, that look right there.
Video recording. Now look at that one right there on the left. How he looks like he, from the distance when you look, he looks in one way. In a way, this shit is actually hilarious. It really is.
I mean, what can you make out of this? Does this make sense to you? Seriously? This is a multi-billionaire. He's got more money than he can count in this life. What do you make out of this kind of stuff? And on the bottom you're going to see him, he's laughing, just like you already have seen that stuff. This weird collection of photos, I have to say. Look, Zelensky collected pretty damn good on this news. They awarded with Zelensky with a lot of money. They awarded Ukraine with a 90 billion of euros. They don't want to go anywhere. They're assuring everybody it's going to be just fine, everything is going to be okay, everything is fine, everything is going to be okay. But I still don't believe so. They're actually even sparking lies pertaining to the nuclear weaponry on whether those should be transferred to Ukraine, that kind of stuff, which was based on MKUltra brainwash. All based on MKUltra brainwash, but we yet have to see absolutely anything, because for me personally, this is just a sand in the ice. They're buying time. They want to buy time, and then at the same time, this here is what goes on. This is what goes on. You see what this is? This kind of stuff goes on. This is the stuff that goes on. The stuff that I spoke to you a little earlier about. This kind of stuff goes on. Americans don't like no Donald Trump. They like the nasty stuff that he does. This is the stuff that goes on. Donald Trump doesn't want to attack Iran, but he actually really wants to attack Iran. This is everything. When it comes to the police, when I was dealing with these government people, it was always, we wouldn't want to do that, but eventually all the scenarios were always based on dark side. They keep coming with worse and worse and worse scenarios pertaining to my case. When they continue to come up with the dark scenarios, don't waste your breath and do your job diligently. Once you have a sufficient amount of proofs that case no longer can be refuted, rejected, dispute it, tell exactly the way it was. Do not compromise. Tell exactly the way it was. The only breaks that would still be used would be the breaks they were using all along on how the world would not believe, on how you would sound insane, but not telling the whole thing the way it was. You're gonna look insaner than those who did the crime against you. And the crime right now is being done against Iran in this case. Tremendous crime. There will be war. You can bet on it. There will be war. There will 100% be war. They have purchased this war. Americans have purchased this war directly through Ukraine. Directly through Ukraine. They have purchased this war directly through Ukraine. And Israel have purchased this war directly through the Poland. Directly through Ukraine and Poland. Make no mistake about it. Nobody here is innocent. Nobody here is innocent. Nobody's innocent here. There is absolutely not a single party that is innocent party in this case. Not a single party. The one that is innocent in this case, as insane as this thing might sound, are actually the Palestinian people that are getting slaughtered. And the next one in line, and that's called Iran. It might sound crazy to you, but Iran is just another victim. Iran is just another casualty of 1976 stuff I was talking to you about. And as I said, there were other buildings even they have evaluated before the 9/11 from what I heard. It was American politicians, I heard from them that it was even other buildings before World Trade Center was built that they would consider for something equal as to what happened on 9/11 in 2001. Nobody here is innocent. Nobody's innocent. Zelensky is buying time to Ursula von der Leyen, and Ursula von der Leyen is buying time to Zelensky. Or I should say, Donald Trump, who's going to strike Iran, and yeah, I'll explain to you all in continuation the way this stuff goes. Donald Trump is no agent of Moscow, agent of any kind of Moscow. He deliberately exposed himself to issues that the United States of America would under no circumstances tolerate in absolutely any way. And that included the racism against Latinos and black people and minorities, and exposing himself as an enemy of the state, of the people, I should say, a friend of the Russians, that kind of stuff. No, man. This is just a part of the deal. Donald Trump is just doing for what Kamala Harris personally told me. And you don't want me, huh? You don't want me. She plundered this home, tortured in this home, tortured in America, tortured here. You see her on the Facebook posing with the pictures right on your screen. They're dumped in your face. Do you miss me? 2028 Kamala Harris. Barack Obama, you see them posing over there. Do you miss me? Do you want me back in the office? And so on. Kamala Harris's husband is a Jew. And a super Jew. A Zionist. Check it out. Check out the facts who the husband of Kamala Harris is. This is like I can actually not really find suitable comparison to this, and I don't want to get gross. two prostitutes sitting inside of the bar, and one prostitute is, I am most likely will not express myself properly. Burp? Is it burp? Belch? One of the prostitutes is just burped, let's say, and the other one says, boy is stinking like a sperm here. And the girl who just burped, let's say, would say, well, you're right, it stinks, and I had to use gloves to put it in my mouth. Do you understand? That's exactly the relationship between Donald Trump, American Democratic Party, I should say Kamala Harris, Barack Obama, etc., etc., and the rest of extremely pro-American. If I remind of that prostitute that complained about how something doesn't smell right, it's a comparison. It's a perfect comparison. I'm sorry I got gross giving you this type of joke. It's not a nice joke, but, you know, sorry folks, that's what I feel about you. You don't want Donald Trump, but you want Donald Trump, because it's not about a Donald Trump. It's about everybody getting something. Your civil rights and your pockets appears to me are not going to suffer, and don't suffer. Even if the global laws, the treaties and everything goes on fire and it goes to the fucking havoc, to put it plain and simple. The World War III was not created by the Putin. The World War III was not created by the Russia. I remember all too well. All too damn good, I remember. Your American politicians, your Central Intelligence Agency executives, officers, stalking like on a Ponderosa, like on a flea market, Eastern European politicians, convincing them desperately on behalf of Germans, British, to do a fucking 9/11 already in 1976. And it was black people in New York, it was politicians who told me, sir, they told me, not sir, I was a boy back then, what the fuck, I was a child. It was already other buildings like this before. They told me, that's nothing. That's nothing. It was already other buildings. They said, oh, okay. It was like, oh, okay. Oh, okay, what the fuck, okay. I did not know. I did not know a fucking thing. I remember them actually even convincing me on how cool would it be to blow the building. I remember them convincing me sometimes in a second grade of the grammar school, talking to me about how cool it is to blow the building, because I extremely disagree with it. I extremely disagree with it, and I accuse them of being bad people and I don't know what kind of stuff. But they had a way around because I was a stupid child, and they started to talk to me, but you know what? You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. This is how you measure the size of the people. You measure them by creating the size of the damage. If the small house is blown, think about, it's not a big deal. But if you blow a big house, it's a bigger deal. And if you blow the hotel, it's a bigger deal. And if you blow apartment building, it's a much bigger deal. You don't understand, and that's why you're not going to be anybody. You will be nobody. Folks, they did a brainwash on me when I was maybe 8 years old under MK Ultra. They washed my brain like I didn't even know what the fuck who I was. With the lies, they do you like this. Convince you. Now imagine you build a whole fucking towers. This shit, more than real. More than real, this stuff. Too damn real for me to fall for this kind of stuff. And I still don't know what the outcome is going to be in Ukraine, because nothing is for certain. But Ukraine is going to need a hell more than $90 billion. And Ukraine alone cannot liberate Ukraine. Ukraine needs logistics. Ukraine needs constant supply of arms. And Ukraine needs highly trained Western US Marines, Foreign Legion type of Navy SEALs to train Ukrainians and work from behind on these operations so those can be as smooth as possible, and at times directly maybe even engage through the military with the enemy from the safe locations, safe distance, provide for Ukrainians, make sure that bombs are not flying over their heads, and so they can go and they can progress. If you understand me what I'm saying. I never said that you Americans have to die for this. That you should send your kids, your mothers, fathers, together with the Germans, with the British, that you should send them to die over there to Ukraine. I never said this. I never was any friend of this kind of stuff. I didn't like you to go and die. I'm just saying from the safe distance, you can do a whole lot for Ukrainians that are being homeless, displaced all over the Europe, cold in the wintertime, freezing, dying from low temperatures in some cases. In many cases, elderly people, isolated and so on. Russians have civilians too. You did absolutely everything to restrain Ukrainians from using long-range distance, long-range rockets and stuff. Absolutely insane stuff. And when it comes to Zelensky, his tragedy was even fucking crazier, because he wasted deliberately so many of those missiles, rockets, drones he sent toward Moscow, and they were mostly all of them intercepted. Rather than concern himself with nearer cities such as Volgograd, which is the engine of the Russia, such as, cities that are closer, more vulnerable, that you can reach and you can sever their infrastructure, roads, bridges, electrical installations, that kind of stuff, factories and so on, that you can severely damage them. Manufacturing and so on, and shipments, supply, the oil and stuff like this they need in the front lines and stuff. Rather than that, he went on and threw away so much of that weaponry. He went on to fucking exhaust whatever was sent to him by the West, basically. He's a fucking deficit in absolutely every sense. War requires you to make sure that the enemy, that you keep him as far on a distance as far as possible. It's like a boxing, basically. You don't want your adversary to come anywhere close to you, first of all. And during keeping one on a distance with a long shot, you also reserve the right to enter his space and deliver other types of punches and so on. And Ukraine never utilized that kind of stuff. The whole fucking thing was totally based on lies, on a brainwash. Yeah, I will bomb Moscow to find out where it's their defense system, the batteries and stuff like this. And I'm going to do this so much till we're going to destroy them all the way to the Moscow, and then we're going to hit the Moscow. Wow, that's bullshit. That's not credible. That's not logical. That's nothing. That's bullshit. And especially because Moscow is fucking useless. Moscow is not located in a part of the Russia that would make any difference for Ukraine. Volgograd is located. Belgorod is very crucial. And even more so, Rostov-on-Don is. There's a whole bunch of city that connects Eurasia, European part of Russia, and Asian part of the Russia that are so important, where the industry also is based. You know? Now you fucking go and blow yourself up, everything you have, you throw away. Boy, imagine how far it is to get to the Moscow, how many chances the Russians have to intercept those missiles, drones, and so on. Most of them, they took them off. That's stupid. That is stupid. The Russians were never so stupid when they assaulted Ukraine. They never took this kind of chances. They were not doing this kind of stupid stuff. So, you know, this whole thing was designed by Ukrainians by Ukrainian leadership to waste its resources, to waste itself, for Russians to bomb the fuck out of the Ukrainian cities before militarily taking on them. None of which ever took place in an opposite direction, when in fact it should be Ukrainians liberating Ukraine from the Russians. Vladimir Putin assumed the role of Vladimir Zelensky, and Vladimir Zelensky assumed the role of the Vladimir Putin, according to agreement too. That's a good news for Ukraine. That's all I have to say. That's a good news for Ukraine. Except that Russia and its allies entirely responsible for the Ukraine. That's just a really good news for Ukraine. That's a good news for Ukraine. But, well, $90 billion is considerable amount of money. Now, there is a big problem about all this stuff because Ukraine needs NATO troops inside of Ukraine. They need strong military presence, not to maintain the peace, but to liberate Ukraine. And just like every time they created again a show, you can see it's a big show, it's a big thing. It's more they gave to protect this scam I was talking to you about. Basically a misconception about Donald Trump being a Moscow agent and Zelensky being a good guy and Putin being a, as they claim, a bad boy, responsible for absolutely everything. This ain't gonna resolve any issues pertaining to Ukraine on a long term. It will help Ukraine a little bit more survive. as the Russians will continue to pound Ukraine, basically. That's all there is. Or basically call it off, and the so-called European Union is going to call it a success. You know, this isn't going anywhere. This is not going anywhere. This is just a commitment to extend the suffering and a commitment to protect from the truth which I provided yesterday. And I did provide people with the truth yesterday. This is the truth. This is a Bible here. This stuff here, this is a Bible. This is the one to go by, to understand what is going on, who started the World War III, why did they start the World War III, and actually when did they started this World War III procedure, and how, through this insurance company in 1979. This is actually a higher understanding about what goes on, but make no mistake, in Syria, Russians and Americans were dropping the bombs at the same time. You know, this is more than illusion. This is just something tangible, something that you can see, that is confirmed, and it is on a colossal size. Vladimir Putin did not start the World War III. The World War III was started by United States of America. They were the ones they proposed, together with the British. The 9/11, they continued to solicit through the Soviet Union, Russians over and over and over again. So Vladimir Putin is shit. There's no doubt about that. But he is not the one who started with Russia the World War III. Ukraine is also part of the World War III. So, and before the Ukraine, there was Chechnya, there was Dagestan, there was bombing of Moscow apartment buildings approximately at the same time as it was bombing on 9/11. And you need to see this video right here, why Iran is called the Islamic State of Iran. You want to understand. These are all the videos to go by. This is all the stuff that explains in depth the situation. And calling Donald Trump a Moscow agent and claiming, while doing absolutely nothing about it, how Russia is responsible for the war in Ukraine, that doesn't make any fucking sense. This $90 billion are not going to make any difference for Ukraine. Ukraine needs a military assistance. They need a military assistance. This is what Ukraine needs. What Ukraine needs is a NATO presence. Already 2 years ago, it was late. For NATO should provide a military assistance with its own equipment that they fear, and they reasonably fear, they should fear, could by mistake come in the hands of Russians through hands of Ukrainians, if given to Ukrainians. It's all kinds of stuff that happened. Russia even profited from technology which was confiscated on the field during this war. Yeah, I completely agree with everything Americans and Germans and British talked about, that Ukrainians got sensitive equipment in the hands of the Russians, but the problem is you have to provide your own people to protect this equipment, and there is absolutely no doubt about it. Crimea and Donetsk are crucial to European survival. Just look at the location of the Crimea, how sensitive that is. If you place the radars over there, how far those can cover the area, how the importance of the European security for the whole European Union, for entire Western Europe. And you're going to go and, I mean, you're not doing nothing with $90 billion. What you're doing with 90 billion euros is you're buying time. Basically, what you're doing is you're buying lies. You're buying lies, so over extended period of time, you're going to cover the truth. You're going to cover the truth, and you do every fucking time whenever I expose you. You will continue to cover the time, basically the space, referred to as time, with lies. And that's what you are good at mainstream media, at European Union, at American free press. That's what you do. You continue to repeat the lies. And through the anger, you understand? You bait people literally through the anger. You bait people into lies literally through the anger. And this guy is really smart when I consider this stuff. He's extremely smart. Ain't that shit in his pants for no fucking reason. He is hanging to that piece of shit. It's not for no reason. It works. Look how many people were killed in Gaza. Look at the ethnic cleansing of the biblical proportion that took place across the Middle East, from Libya to Afghanistan, Syria, Iraq, and they already have scheduled Iran for the next stage, for the next phase of this annihilation, colonialism. This guy's doing a hell of a job, man. He is baiting you literally into lies through the shit on his pants. Americans, if you could, you would have gotten yourself totally other person. You would have a Bill Clinton, whoever the hell you would get you somebody that would flash in front of the TV and would be a very, very pro-human and protect the human rights. As soon as this guy's going to finish the job, that's exactly what's going to happen. And you're going to continue to suck on that stolen oil, stolen money. The war with Iran, 100% will be. This news here that you have seen right there, European Union allocating $90 billion. This stuff here, this stuff is a guarantee that we're going to have a war with Iran. Oh, they are sure they're going to get much more out of it. Money has got to come out of somewhere, and lies are pretty expensive, man. The lies are pretty damn expensive, and with what they did right there, they extended time to their agent Zelensky, which I exposed really, really well yesterday on that video that I demonstrated. That's the video to go by. That's a Bible. That's a very good news for Ukraine, but this is not the news that is going to save Ukraine. Without upgraded military, upgraded arsenal, and it's not about upgraded military and upgraded arsenal, it's about people specialized in warfare. Hired soldiers, basically like a French Foreign Legion. This is what Ukraine needs. Ukraine does not need only French Foreign Legion. The French Foreign Legion could be used to train Ukrainians. You don't have to send people from Western Europe to die on the front lines. Ukrainians, if properly trained, can do it just well. And it's not about Ukrainians being properly trained only, but it's about providing logistics for Ukraine, the sufficient amount of weaponry, equipment, upgraded, better than Russian. It's about working from the rear of these Ukrainian troops, ensuring that these Ukrainian troops are being well protected, that they have a cover over their head. They're not being constantly pounded by the Russians, as the case is. This is not doing nothing, this $90 billion. This is a drop in the ocean in a war of the scale as big as this, with a 20% of the Ukraine occupied by the Russians. This is a drop in the ocean. This is nothing. It's buying lies. It's buying more censorship. It's buying more crime. It's buying more crime against me. It's buying more lies. It's buying time, basically. It's upgrading that American-Russian 9/11 Moscow apartment bombing commitment to the next level. It's about reshaping the world and facing as little or no resistance against this neo-Nazi imperial takeover. That's what this shit is about. This is not solving any kind of problems, and as I said, Ukraine alone is extremely responsible for this shit. Ukraine is very, very responsible for this stuff. I outlined absolutely everything here. Absolutely everything here. Yes, I campaigned for Ukraine, but we have to be honest, the one who gave the nuclear arsenal away, nuclear arsenal to the Russia, their own nuclear bombs, nukes, those are Ukrainians. Ukrainians gave their nuclear bombs to the Russia, and that's just a fact that you cannot change. There are a few things that sets apart the picture that they are trying to portray as. They try to portray the whole thing as Putin and Donald Trump, Russian agent. It's not true. Ukraine has its people in it. There are two sides of people in Ukraine. One, actually even three sides. One is openly pro-Russian. Another one is like Zelensky, Yanukovych. They do prefer entire Ukraine to become part of the Russia. However, through agreement between Americans and Russians, just as I explained in this video. And then there is that third group of people who claimed me that under no circumstances would want to become part of the Russia, however, that if they would not get assistance from the West, sufficient assistance from the West, they would become part of the Russia, and in fact would even work harder for the Russia once they would become part of the Russia, thus posing the threat for the rest of the Eastern Europe. Of course that you pose, and the world, especially world, the global level of democracy, especially of course that you pose enormous threat as such when you're smoking basically a democracy, the truth. None of these sides in Ukraine, despite using me as a slave, for the sting operation's sake, they had a sting operation through every Ukrainian village and through every Russian village on the Russian side of Ukrainian border. It was nothing other than beatings, terror, crime, so that they could observe people, even not aligned to Ukraine, seeing themselves in me would get in trouble. This is not democracy, Ukraine, keeping silent about it all. You're killing the world order pertaining to the international treaties, pertaining to peace treaties, to United Nations Human Rights Charter, is everything, absolutely everything. You're killing. You Ukrainians are doing this shit. You haven't done a fucking thing to resolve this, which you should have resolved this thing. You Ukrainians should have resolved this thing upon the fall of the Soviet Union, upon the fall of the Iron Curtain. It was your job, Ukrainians, to resolve this. But you wouldn't have done that, because for you back then, the priority was to give the Russians your own nuclear arsenal. So let's not forget this number, 1979. Let's not forget this number, 1979. As a matter of fact, 1976, as Josip Broz Tito, I mentioned him in this thing here. Let's not forget number 1976. Josip Broz Tito had an apartment in New York. Let's never forget this number, 1976. Let's not forget this number. You can claim it's Putin, everything is Putin, but Putin is just a part of agreement. Russia is basically agreement. It's an agreement. This is the real agreement. This thing exists. Just like the lies about Zelensky and Putin exist. You claim that the first time the two met in 2019, it was the first time you met. You didn't even wrote down officially. You claim that it was the first time the two met. This is Mount Everest of the bullshit. Mount Everest of the bullshit. Zelensky used to call me mentally retarded until the year 1999. Inside of our house here in the Novomesto city. On behalf of Vladimir Putin. And you're not gonna fucking teach me, tell me opposite. Even if you liberate Ukraine, it won't make any fucking difference because you committed crime against me. Is already one thing you will never be able to correct. You're not correct. You're wrong at the stuff you're doing. And even with the $90 billion euros, you're not resolving this issue in the long run. You're not resolving absolutely anything pertaining to this issue. And yes, you will continue to repeat lies. Everything is a lie that you read in the mainstream media. Absolutely everything is a lie. Till you're going to get people brainwashed enough. Maybe you're going to offer them another piece of shit in a Donald Trump's pants. Maybe you're going to find Donald Trump on a sidewalk, or maybe you're going to find him walking and with a dripping diarrhea. Maybe you're going to have Donald Trump admitting you that he is a Moscow agent. But that still doesn't mean that he is a Moscow agent. The truth is truth no matter what you do. You cannot escape from the truth. This is the truth. What I provided you on the blog is by what world goes already since 1976. Americans had other buildings in their mind. In 1976, it was not the first time. Americans already solicited the Russians to join this neo-Nazi conquest of the world, practically. Through other buildings they had prepared, selected for the sake of what finally turned in 2001 into 9/11. It's actually quite amazing that it took so long for the 9/11 to happen. You can repeat the lies all you want, but look, there is a video right here. And that's a video you can possibly not escape from. You see this video here? I contemplated on creating a small short video, but there is so many proofs when I recall about Zelensky.
Yeah.
It's really easy. It's really easy thing for me. It's a very, very, very easy to prove my point. It's very easy. Ukraine is not getting it done anything with those $90 billion. This is just people prolonged suffering who at the end are gonna have to be, they're gonna be forced to relocate, basically, to give away this Crimea, Donetsk. Now it's 20% of Ukraine that is occupied. And like I said, Zelensky based his entire presidential career on the area which was deliberately allowed for the Russians to occupy it at the beginning of the war. That's how he's going to justify it. Historically, they're going to be demonstrating just how much Zelensky liberated when it comes to Ukraine, the portion of Ukraine. And what you're going to see is going to be the difference between, you know, liberated. What the fuck is this guy did? He did nothing. He was meeting with the Putin. Unless Putin would be Ukrainian agent. And even if Putin would be Ukrainian agent, this would be thanks to me that Ukrainian side would get things coordinated through Putin. But he is not. Vladimir Putin is very smart. He took 20% of Ukraine this time. And the next time, he probably won't even have to bother, because Ukrainians alone are going to decide to go to the Russian side. You can repeat lies, guys. You can repeat lies all you want. The truth is truth. The truth speaks loud for the truth. And as usual, you can see von der Leyen, and you can see this Portuguese guy over there, all smiling up, all optimistic, when this is not even buying to Zelenski a presidency only. This is buying presidency continuation to Ursula von der Leyen from European Commission. How the fuck can one woman be like this, in charge also of the human rights and stuff like this? Just by her having a position as a human rights commissioner also. European commissioner. In charge also of the human rights. It goes to explain how political this stuff is. You don't have to be pro-Russian to be killed inside of the European Union. They protect Russian spies. They arrested Russian spies and they release them. They send them back to the Russia. I'm a prisoner of the European Union because of the filthy, rotten European conscience, betrayal, treason. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter for 54 years. She is extremely happy. For her, this is a success. For her, it's very good. For this Portuguese guy, that he is so happy right there with these bureaucrats, with these animals inside of this European Union. It's always the same people. They flash with the same people.
Have enough 100 these days.
Huh? There you go.
Thank you so much. Press conference. Again, yes.
Always good. Have enough 100 these days.
Again, thank you so much.
Putin has not broken Ukrainians. Putin has not broken Ukrainians. Putin bombarded Ukraine. He continues to bombard civil buildings, electrical installation, infrastructure for the people. They were freezing during the World War II, during the winter time. They were hiding in the fucking basements. Putin is inflicting tremendous damage on Ukraine. Not only the area which he is taking over, but entire Ukraine is inflicting enormous damage. for Ukraine to be as vulnerable and as he's turning one into a total slavery, basically. And the rest the Americans are doing, the rest European Union are doing. We were able to see absolutely everything pertaining to Ukraine. We were able to see absolutely everything. I could possibly not believe that everything was evolving around the money. I don't know how much you remember about how the Donald Trump was talking about that he needs to get something from Ukraine and this and that and back and forth. It was a fucking mess. The show they did was such a big show to get as much as attention possible. This guy stinks, Zelenskiyy. He fucking stinks. Look at that. Look what the hell it says right there. On Putin, Zelensky on Putin, if we give him all he wants, we will lose everything. What exactly is if we give him all he wants, we will lose everything? What is it that you have not lost? Your country is bombed to the fuck. Your country is waiting to be taken over by the Russia, with your people alone running to the Russian side. What do you mean by this everything? Do you know what everything is? Do you know what everything is? Everything is Crimea. Crimea is priceless. Donetsk is everything. That fertile land, that most eastern part of Europe, non-Russian European part, in direction of Abkhazia. That part is priceless. That's a Black Sea right there. And what do you mean by this if we give him all he wants? What do you mean by this if we give him all he wants? You already gave him in 2014 based on negotiations, just as I explained in the part number 1. You never negotiated with Vladimir Putin the defense techniques pertaining to Crimea, pertaining to Donetsk. Why not? The part that Putin took over in 2014, you never had any kind of military strategies liberating that one or defending. Basically, nothing that would pertain to defense. And you are meeting here with the Vladimir Putin, just like I totally expose you. Since you were 11 years old, Zelensky. Actively, you negotiated with Vladimir Putin takeover of Ukraine. Actively since 1996. You planned, you contemplated on all military operations how you are going to portray certain cities, areas, regions through the mainstream media. Struggle defending something that you already decided is going to be Russian. What do you mean by this if we give him all he wants? He got absolutely all he wanted. He got absolutely all he wanted. Now it's just a matter of protecting you, Zelensky, so that people would not see who you are, so that people would not see 1976. That's what this is. Portraying you as a legitimate president and assuring Ukrainians that with whatever they are left, they are okay. And with what they are left is basically a fraction of Ukraine, which is going to be so unstable, with so much damage done to the infrastructure, to the economy, to everything. The country is in a total fuck up, and you are flashing with those $90 billion like a happy clown. Рассудьте. That means it's going to fall apart, everything. Everything is falling apart. They buy you time, Zelensky. And they will try to convince people more on Donald Trump being a Russian agent. But the fact of the matter is, till we're going to see politicians, eventually they're going to take steps like those that I spoke in this video to liberate Ukraine. And not even that is going to void away 1976 or anything that I stated in the video. You can call that a part number 1 if you like. These are just undisputed facts that you cannot change no matter what you do. Even then, you're not going to be able to change the facts for which I exposed pertaining to the World War III. You're not going to be able to say there was no war in Afghanistan and Libya and Syria and is not women and children slaughtered on a daily basis in Palestine. You're not going to be able to say that there is not American military sitting right in front of the Iran just waiting for the new war on Iran this time. You're not going to be able to say that. What is it? What do you want to... Where they are killing medics, they are killing people, journalists, medics, women, children. This is since the truce. Look, Donald Trump claimed that
4 months since the ceasefire.
Donald Trump claimed it was Hamas that kills Palestinian people. What do you mean it's a Hamas that is killing Palestinian people? I mean, no matter what the fuck you're gonna do, you see this here? This is in front of you. You're not gonna be clear. You're not gonna be able to change facts pertaining to this stuff here. And yes, you Ukrainians created it by giving your own nuclear arsenal to the Russia. You created this. You created this by giving your own nuclear arsenal to the Russia. When you did this, and then you make it possible for invasion on Palestine, for invasion on the Middle East. You are part of the big plan. You are part of the big Russian-American agenda that I spoke about. You created this stuff. You made it possible. You truly had weaponry. You had things. You had the ability to make sure that war in Eastern Europe never ever would have happened again with your nuclear arsenal. So much nuclear arsenal you Ukrainians had, and you gave it to the Russians voluntarily. So that Americans and Germans and British could use you together with the Russians for a cover-up on the Middle East. It came handy to the Russians. All this shit I'm talking about, your politicians, your Ukrainian politicians absolutely knew everything about it. There is no reason to pretend yourself to not know any of this stuff here. This video that I created, this is a state of the art. This is a state of the art. This is what world needs to go by. The world already is at World War III. We are fighting the World War III. With America assuming the role of the neo-Nazi Germany, of the World War II neo-Nazi Germany. That's the war. The unlikely French, British, and German allies became allies during the World War III due to colonialist appetites, which we continue to see on the Middle East. Yes. You can lie all the fuck you want, but you're not going to change the facts. This video that I created yesterday, it's a Bible. That's a Bible. This thing here, this is for every normal person to go by. This is a Bible. You cannot dispute anything stated in this video, not a single fucking thing.
I just want to clear a few things. I think it's...
American conscience goes through the wallet. Goes through the wallet. Through the wallet. You hallucinated. You fantasized inside of our house about a new state, American state, that you would build in the Middle East. in addition to the Israel, through which you would control the oil supply. Therefore, you would control the oil supply literally through the military presence. And that state already exists. That country, that your state already exists. It's not Hawaii. There are air bases. There is all kinds of stuff that already exists over there. You did not depart from Iraq after you, in a parenthesis, liberated Iraq. You never departed. You stayed over there and you waited for the new action. Do you see this here? This is year 2025. You have 40,000 troops over there. 40,000 US troops in the Mideast across at least 19 locations. You have 19 military installations. So when you say how many states the USA if it's not 52, then it's 51, but 50 is definitely not. One state, one American state is right there. It's not officially on the map. And one might actually be thrown even officially on the map. This is the way it is. It's happening. What you see right there is 1976. And when I recall Central Intelligence Agency bosses and people that were throwing this on a table to the Russians, to Josip Broz Tito, you people have not seen anything like this, but this is the same shit like you would go, like you go to the market, like a flea market, and you have somebody that is running after you and is offering you something that he wants to sell you, whatever. This is the way it is. Like a Ponterosa, basically. You go on a flea market and you have somebody literally stalking you already after you say, no, I don't want, and he goes after you and he's continue to offers you. This is how Americans won it. September 11, 2001. Already in 1976. Entire New York knew about this stuff I'm talking about. Your democracy but it's through the wallets. Everything is through the wallets. And so I don't understand, Zelensky, what you mean. If we give him all he wants. There is no him, that's one thing. It's you and him. We will lose everything. You already did lose everything. You lost everything. The third time you're going to have a conflict with Russia. It's not going to be even a military conflict. It's going to be your own people that are going to be fleeing on the Russian side because of you, Zelensky. Because of people like you, Yanukovych, and so on. Because of my being left in a silence, in a dark. Because of what you tried to do with me. And you did absolutely everything to get me killed for this truth never to come out. I was escaping from my own home here in Slovenia, and it's not even anywhere near Russia. for dear life. First time in 1995. Second time in 2008. Third time in 2017. Fourth time in 2018. And every fucking time I did it, I escaped death for millimeters. It's documented what you were doing with me. The bestial stuff with the Russians. With the... Right here in Slovenia, through the psychiatric hospital Ljubljana Polje, through the police. That's not a democracy, the stuff like this. It's bigger than European Union, my case. My case is bigger. My case is bigger than United States of America. It's a universal case. It concerns every human being in the world. Because you pose as the ultimate form of democracy. You're not. You're not. And you're taking the whole world, Zelensky, you and Ukrainians, into a dark ages. Vladimir Putin is a bad person. Russia is a really bad country. It's a bad people. There is no need to question something so bad. It's like you would go and question a conscience of a neo-Nazi Germany. But you people are bad too. And bad is just bad. Whichever way you try to turn, bad is bad. Just like a lie is lie. Even if it's a small lie, it will make a big difference on a long term, especially when it comes to politics. Because it's a politic, because it doesn't die with one person. But it's a politic, and on the long run, it's a havoc. When it pertains to me, you are a tremendous liars. And if you, Ursula von der Leyen, you Zelensky, all of you, if you get away with it, what the future holds in it for the people, for the humanity. If you get away with a lie like this one. You're bad people. You're very, very bad people. Don't talk to me about who started the World War III. You can whatever the hell you want, but you're not going to convince me with your lies. This is a Bible here, this stuff here. This is state-of-the-art video. I told you everything you ever needed to know, and it's exactly what you witnessed all along. That's what you witnessed, right there. If Ukraine ever is going to be liberated, if it's going to be liberated, you will portray your greatest ever victory. No, what they had in program is a long war on the Middle East. Boom, bam, boom, bam, boom, 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 bam, boom. Tremendous war with Iran. And through this war in Iran, you will continue to watch Ukraine fighting with Russia, Ukraine fighting with Russia. And then one day when it's going to be like, that's how they imagine, it's going to be like in Iraq, like they have done it in Iraq. The war, in a parenthesis, will be over. Look at that, that's 91 million people in Iran. When the war, in a parenthesis, is going to be over and another country is going to be destroyed, basically, they're going to concentrate on the liberation of Ukraine. And interpret all their victories as a mighty success to what other than to humanity. Donald Trump is in extremely positive spirits, and so are British royals. I saw the Prince Harry also very excited about Ukrainians. After all they had to do is repeat lies over and over and over, and pose next to the Ukrainians. Ukrainians are now the new Jesus. And with Ursula von der Leyen, all of them, it should be just completely fine. Now, what's in it for the humanity as whole? Where this thing is heading to? Well, you're not going to convince me that Russia started this war. Definitely not. You're not going to convince me that Russia started the war in the Middle East. You're not going to convince me about any of this stuff. Not on Ukraine. Russia was highly encouraged in war on Ukraine. They were so encouraged and impressed, they blew apartments in Moscow, as you know, in year 1999. That's how encouraged and empowered they were in this war on Islam, Dagestan, and Chechnya. They were all Muslim people. These people were all Muslim people. And so they believed that as long as No, I still don't believe that Ukraine will be liberated. I don't think so. It's going to be liberated. I do not believe so. I believe they're buying time, just like I stated, but this is what they brainwashed me with. This is the lies that I had to tolerate, whether you like it or not. You have to go along with it, and they are extremely effective when done under circumstances of ambulance vehicles stalking you, driving right behind you, with the police stalking you, attacking you, assaulting you. Through a life of affairs that you have read about on my blog, most of it never was written about, because it was so insane that if I would be writing about the stuff, I would come out as totally insane, which was the main agenda. This was one of the main agendas, was to portray me, to make me portray myself as insane. So, they're pretty damn sure that for as long as they follow these principles and they have somebody to point finger at, and the world goes for it. In this case, that's Donald Trump, absolutely. Donald Trump doesn't even want, have you noticed this shit? Donald Trump doesn't even want the Republicans to align to him. When he was inside of our house here in the city of the Novo Mesto, he was talking to J.D. Vance and he was talking to Pete Hegseth, warning them. They had other Republicans that would also come here and expressed interest in Donald Trump, got excited about this war on Iran and stuff. He told them, don't align yourself to me. I might come out of this as extremely negative person. Donald Trump was totally aware about it. So as long as they feel they have somebody to blame for it all, as long as they have somebody next to whom they can pose to, Zelenski's got a Merz, von der Leyen, Macron, all these politicians inside of Europe, and they have him, I should say, with the royals. Media is going to see them. They put the spot on them. They put the lights, the spot on them. They don't want to know about that other stuff. They don't want to know about really what is going on. And as long as this shit is going to go on, you know, and if it's going to go long enough, who the fuck knows? Maybe I might even die away. This is what they bargained for initially. They placed my father on the brink. My sister supposedly already died. They were preparing my mom for the worst. For the leap into death if necessary. I did spoke about that stuff also. And this is how democracy is maintained. This is how democracy is maintained. That's what you call a democracy. That's a democracy. The one who started the World War III was United States of America. United States of America replaced neo-Nazi Germany, and the rest, it's not even a difficult thing to imagine. Materialistic America replaced all that bullshit about a constitution and Bill of Rights and laws and Justice Department and civil rights, and it's an industry. The civil rights, it started to get, it's a business. It's a big fucking business. That's what this is. That's what this is. Don't give me no bullshit. Russia, Putin, Trump. It was his job. His job required him to look like a CIA agent. It was his job. That was part of his employment that British Royals assigned to him. Agreement. That was part of the stuff that he had to play like this. And one day, who the hell knows how this thing might even turn? But if you understood these two videos that I provided you with, then you understand very, very well what this war in Ukraine is all about. This is not we have not seen anything like this yet. We have not seen anything like this yet. Even during the Hitler occupation, we have not seen anything like this yet. This is actually realizing what Hitler dreamed about would have been done. If Hitler was more tactical, maybe he could have made a good friend with Americans. If he threw some offers on the table to Americans, who the hell knows? Maybe the world would have been very, very different. This is a reality. This is the reality. Reality is Ukraine either give its nuclear arsenal weaponry voluntarily. Yeah, I did describe the circumstance about that stuff. Or, as I suspect, maybe even agreement that specified certain things that we get to see now in 2026 and what started in 2022. This is, when it comes to the government, these people can see so far in the future. You know, whoever controls the past is the one that controls the future. And Americans, I should say Western Europe, with Canada and Australia, they did control the past. Soviet Union breakup left Russia, when compared to military technology of today, in a stone age. It was exactly Americans, Germans, and even French that assisted in modernization of the Russian arsenal military, and Dutch upgrade of the Russian military arsenal, auto industry and everything. It's just a normal thing. Yes, I know it's a normal thing when it comes to auto industry and stuff like this, manufacturing and stuff. Yeah, I completely, and they got oil and gas and all that stuff and everything. But let's not forget, Russia was invited into NATO. Russia was invited into the European Union, but declined because it couldn't have a war with Ukraine. Because as a European Union member state, as a NATO member state, you don't have the right to attack other countries without the coalition agreement, nor you have ability to attack other countries within the European Union or within the NATO, because you all have agreement with one another. And that's the kind of stuff that would even invite Ukraine inside of the NATO, inside of the European Union. Instead, Russia reserved the right to stay outside of the European Union, outside of the NATO, and enforced also a permanent isolation of Ukraine. It was Russia that did not agree for Ukraine to be accepted to the European Union and to the NATO. And it was Americans, through the free press, together with the British, with the Germans, with the French, with the Italians and everybody else, that hallucinated about Russian nukes, how dangerous they are if they would accept Ukraine to NATO and Ukraine to European Union. Let's never forget these things. Let's never ever forget that already from the aspect that Russians enforced Ukrainian membership, European Union and NATO membership exclusion. You're not going to tell me that they haven't done this in agreement with the United States of America and with Western Europe, because I witnessed to this stuff. I witnessed it. So, 1976 it is. 1976 it is. In my case, 1976, the first time that I heard about this stuff. I've undergone enormous brainwash in respect to 9/11, and I remember the politicians, the people. It was American politicians that ran after the Russians like puppies, bagging them, Eastern European politicians, into a circle of 9/11. Not vice versa. It was not the Russians who did that. Just remember this stuff. That much about who created the World War II, I should say World War III, and who did not create the World War III. If it was not for Ukraine, Jews, Americans, there would be no capacity to do the stuff to the Palestinian people today the way they do it. And they do it in front of the entire world. The whole world can witness, they can see what's happening. And there will be no American warships, no American military stationed in still occupied Iraq, readying himself for another invasion or a total decapitation of Iran. It would be none. Strait of Hormuz is going to be the main target of American invasion. And it wasn't only one. They were going to build up a military installations, additional military installation, but from what I am concerned for 19 installations that you have with a 40,000 American troops stationed already there, you could say that you do have additional American state. Call one just the oil land, oil country. The thing is, you Americans don't want to pay. It's not about the low price. It's not about the low cost. The thing is, you want it for free. Because for free is better. You feel that giving money to your enemy is depriving yourself any kind of money. It doesn't matter how cheap. That's how sick you are. That's how sick you are. Is depriving yourself of future. But this type of radicalism, that's a radicalism, is what not even Adolf Hitler hallucinated would it be possible to enforce, what you are doing. And this directly also pertains to the ethnic cleansing of Gaza, the killing of women, children in Gaza, and figuring out how you're going to get just the free oil from the people rather than pay. It's extremely low price. You get this crude oil from Iran and stuff. They will be willing to sell it to you. No. You want it for free. And you want it so much for free that you want Iranian people to die of the hunger, just like Iraqi people, just like all the people in the area, like in Libya and so on. Because for free is better than, completely for free is better. This is true about your democracy. This is who you are. Don't talk to me about the World War III. Either way this is going to turn. The humanity have to understand the role that you are in today. Your country replaced a neo-Nazi Germany, World War II neo-Nazi Germany. This is who you are.